Wait, I can't always nail this. Give me a second. Welcome to the Corridor Cast. Oh,
First take, first try.
first take, first try.
Wow. Ooh.
We hazed one of our employees on video camera.
Oh my god.
I'm going right into it. Okay.
Welcome to the Corridor Cast.
Welcome to the Corridor Cast, where we bring it hot. Okay, so what happened last week, guys? We raised a bunch of money for charity.
didn't
Yeah,
happen?
with the help of Beeple, we raised over
Yes.
$500,000 for charity, which is incredible.
Just sorry, just
Yeah.
Can we? That deserves like a little clap.
Yeah, there it is. That was the little clap right
That's
there.
it. That's it. That's all you get.
That was
Yeah,
pretty
the funny thing is-
special.
That's insane.
That was pretty
special.
nuts. Yeah, Sam and I were at our friend's bachelor party, and like, you know, we're checking our phones once in a while, and then as it got to the end of that auction, it's just like, sorry guys, we're gonna be on our phones for half an hour here, just constantly refreshing the page. Yeah, they're like, come join the party. It's like,
Yeah.
sorry, I can't. Gotta watch this.
It's hard to take your eyes off it.
Two once in a lifetime moments going on right there. Friend's bachelor party, raising 500 grand for charity.
600 now.
Wow.
With the price of Ethereum
Yeah.
going up, which is funny because, like, you know, so we did the NFT auction, and you know, I want to give a shout out to the people that bid on the items and the people
Yeah.
that bought them, because they're the ones who are, you know, putting the cash in for this charity. But you know, so we do this, and it's not like you just get money in your bank account. You end up with these crypto dollars. It's like, what do I do with this?
Ether bucks.
So then Jake's been trying to figure out that process.
Dude, welcome to
got
the
it.
world of cryptocurrency, Jake. Like, rude and awakening here.
Dude, you wouldn't believe, man. I had to take a crash course in it over the last 4 weeks because, you know, I've been following it, you know, like, because I just follow the financial markets and the economics, but I wasn't like into the intricacies of how you buy it and like how you exchange it and how, like, all these wallet systems and the codes and then your passphrase and like all this other stuff that's involved with it.
Oh, yeah.
And it was very overwhelming for a few days. Well, I was trying to saturate as much knowledge as possible, and now I feel like I've gotten past the first educational phase, and now it's figuring out, like, okay, you know, convert it off. And then now, so
No pressure.
Here's the other thing: you wouldn't believe how hard the tax system makes it to
Yeah.
give money away to people. You wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe it if I told you. You'd think, oh, you want to give away money to people? Okay, so here's $100. I give away $100, and then I check a box on my tax return that says I gave $100 to so and so. Easy, done. Right? I don't get taxed on the $100 because it's some money I gave away. Oh, hold on. Let me stop you right there. There's a whole bunch of things that can happen because people because people abuse the charitable donations thing. Unfortunately, nonprofits abuse it, charities abuse it, people abuse it. People create charities for themselves and then like donate money to themselves, and it's a whole mess.
Excuse me, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, what?
Right.
Sorry, that's a little bit of politics you'll ever get in a podcast here.
Oh, I'm just saying, like, that's why it's hard.
Yeah.
So because when the IRS sees like a donation and they see, okay, well, you donated $500,000 to a charity. Okay, we're gonna need to know that was legit because, you know. So, anyways, it's interesting because you not only have to learn the crypto side, you have to learn the tax side, and then make sure that they don't get in each other's way.
Man, and then everything with taxing as it falls into the crypto world. If you're like buying, selling, that's a whole other thing.
Capital gains and all that.
Yeah, it's definitely an accountant's worst nightmare.
Yeah, like how do you, you know, so people bid on these pieces with crypto, with Ethereum, and then it's like, oh, but then the Ethereum goes up in value, and what was originally like $580,000 is now $620,000. Something like that's like, what are the gains taxed or how does that work? You know, it gets real funky.
I mean, that's
Yeah,
that's why
they-
have questions about using cryptocurrency for actual mercantile in general. Like how are you gonna do that? Like,
I mean, arguably you're outside the tax system if you stay in crypto the whole time.
That's true. Very true. But also, like, I could pay you a Bitcoin for a piece of bread, and then, that it's doubled in value by the end of the day. And you're like,
right. And the value
so volatile.
fluctuation is pretty extreme.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But to its credit, it has, you had this big spike in February, March, but before that, it was relatively stable. And by relatively, Nico, we were talking about this earlier, like fluctuating like 15 to 20% a day.
The only stable thing in crypto is the volatility. I'm serious, really. I mean, if you look at the pattern, it's like you get all these huge hits, then these corrections, and then very consistently another huge hit, and then very consistently another correction. So
it makes me wonder if billionaires are like controlling a lot of the market.
Hell yes, they are.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. No, they're playing us all for sure. Like, because if you own enough to like Elon Musk or whatever, people are saying he controls it with his tweets or whatever. Like, all he has to do is tweet Bitcoin. Yeah. And like the price shoots up 10K.
Yeah.
It's like, so yes, is the answer to that. I think that's a fair speculation.
Well, you think about it, and if it exists obviously outside of any market.
Yes.
And so because of that, it has advantages, but it also has disadvantages in the sense of like it is completely unregulated, meaning anybody can come in and do anything with it. And, the only thing they can't do is lie about how much they have or don't have, because it's actually on the blockchain.
True.
It's really crazy, but it is nice to see it stabilizing a little bit, but who knows? Who knows where that ship will sail? It's a wild
time will tell, man. I mean, the ship hasn't sailed away yet, so it's still here with us. We're still sailing it,
There's definitely drug money laundering implications in that industry, to a degree that I don't even think I want to understand. If we can take a little bit of it and do a little good with it, I'm on board with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not every day you get to raise that much for a good cause. So that was pretty cool seeing it. We were all guessing, I think in the last podcast, we were throwing around some guesses, but we were like, if it gets past 100K, that's going to be crazy.
That kind of was like our benchmark for success is if it could hit that collectively with all the 6 pieces, that would be a success for us. And obviously it did 6 times that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Which is now we step into the second realm, which is how do you actually give that money to a charity? I mean, obviously you can just like call them up and be like, here's a check. Well, I guess I'm assuming you call them up like, hi, I have lots of money for you.
You need to be careful, because if you don't do the taxes the right way, then you can also get taxed on it. You can get audited because of it.
So
like
is this going to be like an ongoing process over the next couple of weeks for you guys of like figuring out how to funnel this crazy amount of crypto into the cash and then cash?
'Cause that's the other thing. It's not like
to the
it's
charity.
Like you have just a guaranteed like for you to turn your crypto into dollars, somebody needs to buy the crypto. It's not like there's just an agency that's like, and I'll guarantee this dollar amount. Like, you can't just instantly turn it into dollars. Someone else needs to give you those dollars for the coinage, whatever it's called.
Well, Coinbase will probably do that.
Right. But it's working through the system of, it's like stocks,
Right.
You're not like,
that's a lot of things people don't know about stocks is you think like when you have a stock and then you sell it, you're just selling it back to like the company or whoever. But what you have to do is you have to put the stock out there and you have to say, I am holding these stocks out at this price. And you have to wait for a buyer to come along and say, I will buy those at that price.
Yeah. It doesn't necessarily happen instantly.
Right.
Dude, can you imagine like working in the stock market back in the day when it was all paper and you had to actually be there with like your like ticker tape or whatever it was?
I
like
got 745. I got 745. 745.
You're like punching people to get your stock sold. Like, there's some crazy photos of the stock exchange back in the day that are like pretty wild, man.
Yeah,
pretty wild.
So you know, the main charity that we're donating to is Direct Relief. They're rated really highly. They're very COVID focused because this is the thing. Like, you know, looking at like just, you know, culture, American culture and worldwide culture for a minute here, but you know, obviously a little more focused on American culture. Like I think it's just kind of how human beings operate a little bit, but I feel like we haven't really as a culture or society stopped to like pay tribute to the thousands of people that passed away from COVID-19. Cause like we're still kind of just like, blinders on, just power through, which you kind of have to do a little bit to like get to the other side of it. You know, like when you're in the shit, you gotta put your head down and push through. And you know,
I think the president finally did that, right? He's finally like acknowledged it, which is a start. Like just saying like, this is bad. Like,
yeah, you know, like that's a thing that like
a big start.
As a society, we need to have that moment. We need to like collectively be like, hey, let's like we build for memorials for, you know, people that die in accidents or, you know, terrorist attacks or anything else like that. Like we need to do that. We need to acknowledge like the pain and the suffering that people have been through here, which we haven't really done yet. You know, people talk about it here and there, but it's not really like a social feeling for it yet. And so like that's part of what inspired us wanting to do this charity, was to start with that process of it, like, hey, let's acknowledge the fact that 500,000 people died. And let's acknowledge that this like is sad, and this is a thing that a lot of people are suffering from and have had to deal with. How can we help? How can we start, you know, taking that next step? So, you know,
unfortunately, that's politicized now, though.
Unfortunately, it is. But you know,
acknowledging tragedy is now politicized in this country. Yeah, you should. We all should.
We should all acknowledge the people that died. We should also acknowledge the fact that a lot of companies stepped up and made a vaccine in less than a year, that's like the heroic achievement in a zombie film. And everybody's like, I don't want it yet.
That is super far underrated. I think like that is like all the things working correctly.
Yeah.
In that sense, you know, and I understand there's, you know, different opinions out there, and I think each individual should decide like, you know, how and when they want it. But that aside, you just set that aside for a second and you think, okay, when nature put a gun to our head, everyone was able to play together.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should take a little bit more of that and remember that and stop fighting as much about things that don't matter.
Yeah, definitely.
That was, I think, like technologically, you know, you have the best parts of capitalism working with the best parts of government. You know, you have technology playing this huge role.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of those things have their pitfalls, but in this case, they were all able to work together to actually come up with something good.
Yeah.
And that's pretty remarkable.
Hey guys, welcome back to this section of the Brandy O'Daniel cast, where I tell you about today's sponsor, Storyblocks. Now, if you don't know, Storyblocks is the one-stop shop for all of your stock asset needs. They have a virtually unlimited library of high-quality, royalty-free assets, whether that's a B-roll clip, a template, or a motion graphic, or some music, or a sound effect. They've got it. And with an unlimited all-access plan, you can download as much as you want, whenever you want, for whatever purposes. I say this all the time, but I'm gonna say it again, commercial. What else? What else, guys? YouTube videos, monetized or not, doesn't matter because it's all royalty free. Anyways, we use them all the time over here at Corridor Digital, and that's one of the things that makes post-production easy for us. If you're part of a creative team or you're a creator yourself, talk to your team leader about getting an enterprise plan. Head on over to storyblocks.com/corridorcast to get started. That's storyblocks.com/corridorcast to get started, and well, you'll get all the things that I just mentioned. Anyways, let's get back to it, okay?
So when we were doing this charity, you know, direct relief was going to be the main beneficiary, but there's like initially we're going to say like, okay, 100% is going to direct relief, but then we realize like we have no idea how much money this charity is going to actually bring in. You know, if it brings in like 60,000, 80,000, you know, whatever, then all of it will go to direct relief. But what if it brings in 500,000? It's like, well,
yeah,
maybe we should just step back for a second and like set aside 100,000 of that to put to like another charity that's focused on another aspect of COVID-19.
Yeah, you also have to be careful about the ones you pick because not all of them are. There's a certain like tiers of accreditation that the tax code actually takes with it. So I'm glad you picked direct relief because fortunately they have like this high tier tax value. But if you don't have that, if you pick one that's not at that level, then you can open yourself up to different taxation on it as well. So
dude, that's fascinating. It's kind of a cool topic for a video. Like everyone, you know, no one really knows like how do you actually donate a large amount of money to charity? Like, because there's all these stories of also like these like charities that are like crooked and like, you know, it's being funneled into the wrong places. And like, how do you even like safeguard against that?
Yeah, because when you were starting this, I asked Jordan to do some research, and Direct Relief popped up as basically being like one of the top charities in the nation. Like 100% of the money goes to direct relief. That's where the name comes from. Because you have indirect, you know, help too. But direct is like, I'm going to give you money and I'm going to give you items that I bought with the money. Like that's direct. I'm just going to give it to you. And Direct Relief is an organization that deals with medical stuff. You know, not just COVID-19. Like right now it's 100% COVID-19 focused, but you know, they're medical focused. So like if you know there's an earthquake, they'll bring in doctors and clinics, and you know, like they'll do all that kind of stuff. You know, donate all the safety equipment, health equipment, and so on and so forth. But you know, now that we raised so much money, what I'm thinking is, you know, I kind of want to break it down from like the national level, which is direct relief, and like do the bulk of the money to that, and then like kind of start and like do like a kind of a little bit of a tiered thing where it goes a little bit more local.
I mean, dude, we have like what the state's biggest homeless population, like right in our neighborhood here.
That's the other aspect I was thinking of is, so, you know, it's been on the news in LA right now in that they shut down a big homeless encampment in Echo Park.
Yeah.
You know, and people are arguing on all sides of it. But one of the things is, you know, a group that went in and worked really hard to try to get, at least, you know, share the resources, being like, hey, here's rooms that are available, here's shelters you can go to with the homeless, was SELAH, SELAH, I think. You know, they're known for going there and just with boots on the ground, being like, hey, I'm going to walk to each tent, talk to each person and be like, here's where you can go. Here's what we can do. So I'm kind of feeling like, you know, I need to do a little more research on this to like really round it out. But, you know, Direct Relief will be the main beneficiary. Then maybe something that's like at a state level and then something that's local. And SELAH is one of the things that I'm thinking about for
That'd be really cool.
the local slice of that.
So what exactly would be the idea there?
I mean, it'd just be a donation to them because they're working hard to try to deal with the homeless issue, which I guess is tangential. It's related to the COVID-19 issue because these homeless encampments popped up in the parks because of the whole pandemic to begin with.
Yeah, it's just making it worse for sure.
Yeah, and then they're trying to get people off the street, trying to get them vaccinated, trying to keep COVID-19 from ravaging the homeless population as well.
It's sad, man. It's like, especially in my neighborhood in Koreatown right now, it is way worse than I've ever seen it.
Yeah. It's like people need help.
Yeah,
so, like,
dude.
we'll help
really.
Let's help with
medical supplies,
this charity money,
food.
you know? So that's what we're working through.
Yeah.
At least that's what I'm working through on this. But I'm excited to do it. Like it's really something I'm looking forward to like dealing with. Yeah.
Yeah. The fundamentals there are opportunities.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it comes down to. And so if we can find a place to put it where we can in some small way, foster opportunities for people, that's going to do the most, you know? I feel,
yeah, definitely. We should talk a little bit about, you know, so we made a video that, you know, kicked off this charity and
yeah, we did. Yeah, it was a very
controversial. Very controversial.
Yeah, polarizing, as Nico said.
And you know, honestly, I was sad to see the way people reacted. I get why they did, but you know, without going too deep into what people should and shouldn't think, I think it's important that we talk a little bit about how we make these videos, because when we put out videos in the Corridor Crew, it's a heightened reality. Like we all know we are on camera and we are playing it up for camera because, in real life, like I don't emote a lot.
Yeah.
None of us do. We're regular people like everybody else. We kind of just chill and you do your thing. And
I remember I had such a rude awakening with YouTubers, dude. Like YouTube, like I think the first like YouTuber I met in real life was Olin Rogers.
Oh yeah.
And like, I love the guy. He's like super animated on camera, but like when you meet him in person, he's so soft spoken. Like, very thoughtful, very just like quiet to himself, like super cool dude, but like totally different than his on-camera persona.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Videos are storytelling, so you are making a point of putting yourself out there and communicating. Like you have an emotion, and you're going to communicate that emotion in a way that's very clear. So you're going to heighten it, and it's like it's still coming from a seed of truthfulness, like it all is. But there's definitely an aspect of like improv theater, and so I like to think that we are basically the IRL version of The Office. We have a bit of that vibe going on, which I love. I think it's awesome and entertaining and hilarious. But I think it's easy to feel like the story you're getting is 100% like that's exactly what happened, and the emotions that I'm feeling from the story is the emotions that they must be feeling in that moment. And it's like, well, I just want to remind everybody, like, we're not the kind of YouTube channel that goes out there and like films their friends having a shitty moment and then putting it up there for everybody to see. Like that's not what we do.
Intentionally.
Well, I mean, we intentionally don't do that.
Yes. Sorry.
Yeah. It's not like we unintentionally. No, it's like
unless it's Carmichael on top of the Burj Khalifa, in which case all bets are off.
I mean, in a way, it's like those are when we were exploring that stuff with Nick and Carmichael back in the day. Like that's when we kind of learned that it's like too many channels on YouTube like go out there and like make somebody suffer or take advantage of somebody or exploit people. And like we don't do that explicitly. Like we hate that.
We've had our learning curves though. Like we were pranking Ren for a long time, and we had to stop that because it was like straight up turning from pranks to like actual like hazing. And we realized like okay, let's look at this from an outside perspective.
Yeah,
we freaking I mean, well, you guys know which one I'm talking about. The Teutons will know. I still feel bad for that.
We had to reassess.
So it's good you do that. But no, like you're saying, it's not like we were like, oh, Peter's having a horrible time. Let's like point the camera at him and Beeple and like tell Beeple to like say, screw you, Peter.
Yeah.
No, the video could have been cut in a way where you guys were more in on the joke. And that is, I think, came down to like the editing process and myself and Dean deciding like, and assuming that you guys would be a little bit more in on the joke, like, and
like
be able to
wrestling.
take with a grain of salt.
When you have a heel in wrestling and like the bad guy and everybody's like, oh, I love to hate him. Like that's kind of how he figured it would play.
Or like when Jake, when you kind of step up in the boss role, into the videos, which is like realistic, but it's also we're heightening it for a video. It's not like people come out and like,
what
like
was
Jake is
funny
hazing people.
About the Smush Brethren video is that there was a lot of comments of people like ripping into me for being the heel, and no one said a word. Everyone was just, and then Peter, it's like, oh, Peter, poor Peter.
Well, I mean, you were the Beeple in that video, Jake. So,
I was the Beeple in that video. It was funny. I knew that people would react that way, and we shot the video like with that in mind. Like, I'll be the bad guy. I'll be the guy who's playing it up and like making it hard on everybody and not having fun, because that's if you like distill my character, that is like what my approach to Smash Brothers is. But like, I'm not like this, in real life.
I mean, let's be real, Jake. There was some truth there, and a lot of truth in that video, right? I mean, we always start with the truth, and then we decide how to put it into a narrative.
But it's not like, exactly. We do start with the truth, and the truth is like, I do think it's kind of a waste of time, but you guys feel like it's very good for camaraderie. That's the truth. And so
you deal with it
from there. Right. Yeah. I'm not gonna like get mad about it. I just
happened to ask Peter to make a game that he's actually finishing up right now for the website.
For the website.
Yeah. Actually, we haven't announced that publicly.
Oh, oops.
No, it's good. That's why we encourage you. That's why we encourage you to listen to the podcast, because we are
loose lips over here.
Smush Brethren available for download and play as soon as the website phase 2 goes live, which is still planned for Wednesday, April 7th. That's next week.
Heck yeah.
Now, it won't be massive multiplayer online, so forgive us. We're going to have to build up to that point. But if enough people download it and play it, that is something we want to do, is like expand on it and continue to build out
so
new
cool.
levels.
New attacks and moves for each character.
Yeah, totally.
Have Dobie and Steve the landlord in there and Brett's son. Dude.
Oh my god, you could
like
open
little
up
specials.
Steve the landlord.
Yeah.
He comes out of like the back
DLC.
room or
He comes out with a gravity bong and like just like creates a cloud.
That's just special.
Remember when we were like doing that video where we got the huge inflatable balls and ran over Carmichael or hit him with my car?
Yeah.
Steve comes in, he's like, damn, you could smoke a lot of pot out of that thing. I'm like, wow, dude. Steve, dude, what a national treasure, man. He needs to come by soon. But
really
back to
is.
Beeple, I guess.
Yeah, I guess, at least on this podcast, you guys actually hear like this is us just being 100% real on this podcast. In the Quarter Crew videos, you're seeing hours, if not days, boiled down into something. Like, just go back to the render challenge, for example. That was a 2-hour thing, and it's like, in one way, it was only 2 hours. It's us sitting down making render for 2 hours, and something doesn't work out, whatever. It's like, it was 2 hours. But at the same time, like, keep in mind that the majority of what was happening in real life there is us sitting at our computers working. We get up, we talk some trash, we joke, we laugh, we sit back down, we keep working.
To be fair, I'm just going to put this out there. I don't want to like be saying Peter wasn't having a bad time, because he definitely wasn't having a great time. I think he'd never met Mike before, so he didn't really know what a unique flower he is. And we all kind of know. And like, actually Mike off camera, when like, we're not all like, when he's not feeding off of our like extremely hype YouTube energy, is like much more mellow and like he's pretty nice. He's not like he came across in that video.
Like, Mike is this super nice guy.
But Peter definitely wasn't prepared for that. And I think when we saw that, we were already so far into the video that it was just like, let's keep going. And also he's wearing the mask the whole time, so I couldn't like see his facial expressions, but I did see at one point he was just like rolling his eyes, and it was like, are you all right? And he just didn't answer me. And I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna do anything. Hopefully it's all fine. And I think that video could have really benefited from keeping in, like Dean was saying the other day, he's like, there were a couple moments where like I had Peter and Beeple and everyone, like me behind the camera, laughing at like things that he would do. Like when Beeple accidentally, and it was a real accident, dropped Clint's toy, right?
We were all laughing.
We were cracking up for like 5 minutes. Everybody. Clint was like the one laughing most because it was so perfectly timed.
Yeah.
Like, and it shattered in the most expressive way. Like every little piece went to the four corners of the studio.
Yeah. It's also like exactly what happens in the game too when you carry too many items.
Because
that's my special edition Sam Porter Bridges, dude.
So like we're always trying to find a storyline. Hey, you can check this out in Functional Filmmaking coming out in a couple months on my episode, but we're always trying to find
it's
coming out next week.
Next week.
What year is it? But we're always trying to put a storyline into something. So for this video, we realized that, let's take it back. So we filmed with Beeple over the course of, 2 days, but the first day we were filming this render challenge. And then we also sat down and did this Q&A video. And the original plan was that we were going to integrate the two videos into one big video, like a big chunky NFT crypto art thing. We didn't know that Beeple would then go on to sell his uber mega Christie's auction art piece and become like a household name overnight. So when that happened, and the video had already been pushed for other reasons, like several weeks down the line, it was supposed to come out several weeks earlier, we decided in order to well, honestly, like capitalize on that success and try to like help ourselves out. It's like, why don't we just not cut down that Q&A so much? Because I think people are actually legitimately, now that he is a household name, interested in everything he has to say. Like, I think putting out that rawer, uncut version of that Q&A that isn't chopped up into the other video might be better right now, because people are like, who is this guy? What's on his mind? So we did that. And that means that the render video then with Beeple was a little bit, I don't want to say sparse, but it was lacking that like B story. So when looking through the footage and seeing what moments there are, the thing that instantly stood out to Dean and I as the most funny, interesting thing is this dynamic that comes off a little bit, it came off a little bit more subtle than it did in the final video between Peter and Beeple, where Peter is just rolling his eyes, Beeple's being Beeple and like being super like, intense and competitive.
And to people, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. And we just decided like, that's probably going to be the best story to like focus on. And
well, not to mention there's the whole aspect of like, Peter's an incredibly talented CG artist, but he's also super young. And like, here he is meeting Beeple, and Beeple doesn't know who he is. And so there's this moment where like, you have somebody like Peter who, I guess
he's like
Peter's
one
a really
of the
nice
best
guy, don't get me wrong, but
artists
he's also like a hot shot, like he's very good at what he does.
This hot shot kid.
And everyone in our audience knows that. So yeah.
And so to see him in a situation where somebody doesn't, imagine like Brad Pitt hangs out with somebody who doesn't know who Brad Pitt is. And like imagine he's like acting in a student film and none of the people on that crew know who Brad Pitt is.
This Brett guy's a real asshole.
They're like, hey,
it's like, Brad, can you hold that light?
Have you heard Brad read his lines? Yeah. He's really good.
And so it's like it is a fascinating situation. Once again, just a reminder: this is only a 2-hour thing. Like, so your work doesn't really get used that much. Like, yeah, it's maybe a little bit annoying in the moment, but like just like Peter himself said, like, the moment passes and you continue doing your thing. Like it was not that big of a deal. And it was also just a fascinating study.
To be fair to the audience, when you're watching a video, you only know what's being shown to you.
It's true.
That's very true.
And so that is the point, right? That's the point of telling a story through the medium of video. Like you're only what I show you. Don't look over there. Yep. And so like I understand like we've done so much of it now, like, and we do have a huge new audience that's only joined us in the last sometimes even months within the last year, that hasn't seen all that other earlier stuff that like we consider to be ground truth for a lot of these stories. I think that's what makes watching through our library entertaining, because you discover those things like as you watch through it. But I also understand, first time coming in for the first time, like imagine, you stumble across a David Dobrik video. You're like, I don't know who any of these people are. Like, what's going on? Like, why is this like this? What are they doing this for? I'm just taking it at face value. So I think there was a little bit of that going on too. Now, obviously, people, well, I think the bottom line is people love Peter, really.
Yeah, honestly. And like,
that's
hey,
great. That's awesome.
Everyone commenting, we're not faulting you guys. Like, this is my bad, like I'm taking the fall for this because we could have presented it in a more beneficial way, I think.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like usually when everyone here at Corridor is cracking up at something, it's a good sign. Like if you watch the old Sam and Nico videos when we do our brainstorms on camera, like you can see many Corridor videos that have just been incepted from like us just in tears laughing in this room.
Yeah.
And as soon as we watched the rough cut that Dean had of that render challenge and we're seeing that dynamic, we're all cracking up. Yeah. So it was like obvious, like let's lean into this storyline, and we didn't really think twice about it. So
yeah.
But yeah, I mean the audience checked us for sure. So
like another
sometimes you got to have that freedom though, to like be like, well, you know what, this is a good story and let's roll with it, like and deal with whatever might come from
when you make 3 videos a week, it's like you're gonna fail sometimes.
I mean, it was a good story. I mean, you saw we can all see how emotionally engaging that
is very
was.
true.
Like all these comments were inspired because there was story and there was character.
They say good art gets an emotional response. It doesn't have to be a good response.
Have to be a positive one.
If you get a response,
yeah.
But anyway, it should never be at like Peter's expense. So
Yeah, and I think that's a good lesson just across the board,
or Mike's expense,
or anybody's expense, really.
But I will say, like, take a deep breath. All right. There's no, like, I really don't think this is a case of workplace harassment. I saw a lot of comments saying like Sam and Nico need to like apologize to Peter and stuff. And like, I mean, if Peter wants that, he's free to say it, but like, it's a little bit intense. Like, it's a little bit intense.
If our workplace is in any way workplace harassment, like, dude, good luck.
Dude, I'm only allowed to play 20 minutes of Smash a day, dude. What?
Good luck.
Yeah.
Fuck, where's OSHA?
I guess the one last thing I just want to say is, I want to thank Mike, aka Beeple, for joining us. And I want to point out to everyone that's very critical of him if you're listening to this podcast. His presence here, like, he was already a pretty big name. He had already sold a bunch of pieces for millions of dollars before he came on our show. He came out here and did this render with us to not only help us raise money for charity to help other people, but also to help us as well and introduce us to this new world of digital art and to educate us and to educate everybody else who was watching the videos to learn more about it.
And he reached out to us, by the way, right?
Yeah, he reached out to us to do it. And even after his Christie's auction, like, he was still helping us get the stuff set up. He was helping us get the ball rolling. Like, he really went out of his way in a way that I would not expect anybody at his like fame and notoriety to do so, to help us. And also looking at the rest of his pieces, like, he is constantly selling pieces for charity. Like, he basically did his Christie's auction, and he had the one back in the fall that raised $3.5 million. But after the Christie's auction, he's basically gone like, I'm going to give away all my art. And he's just giving it away to people and letting them resell it and making money off of it. Like, he's actively helping and changing the lives of many, many people. So, like, to that, I want to say thank you. Thank you, Beeple, aka Mike, for helping us raise all this money for charity. Thank you for helping, open our eyes a little bit to this world of NFTs. And, there's a lot of criticism around the NFTs that we've since, looked into. And Ren had a great discussion about that with you guys in the last podcast. If you guys haven't heard that, you should definitely go listen to it. But, it was really selfless of him to come out here and participate with us. And he's continuously doing these very selfless, charitable things. I wish more rock stars would act like he does.
Did he see the video, Nico?
I'm certain he saw the video.
Did anything happen from that?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
It'd be speculation. I don't think so. But either way, it's I appreciate people watching out for Peter. I appreciate people being emotionally honest with us. But yeah, I also want to basically say thank you to Beeple. Thank you to Peter for participating in that video as well.
Yeah, thanks to Peter for being a good sport, man. We all have to be a good sport sometimes.
It reminds me of the bow video when you guys were shooting the 360 camera on an arrow.
Yeah.
And my bow got chewed up. And like, was I happy about it? No, of course not. I don't want my bow to be chewed up. It does have sentimental value. But like, was I so torn up and emotionally shook? Like, no, it was an accident, and you guys filmed that reveal, and like, it wasn't like, I'm like, no, and like super angry. Like, I'm going to express a little bit more for camera. I mean, the moment you guys walked in the door, I knew what was up, right? And so like the reaction I gave, the reaction I gave, like, half of it's truth, but half of it is me also going like, okay, in this moment that we're now doing improv theater, in this moment, this is what I need to sell as a character to make this moment compelling, to make this part of a storyline that makes sense. Like, is there truthfulness in it? Of course there is. But there's also me understanding that there's a camera in the room 5 feet away from me. And so I'm going to acknowledge that truthfulness, but then make sure it's communicated in the performance as well. Right. And that's what you see in that video. Like,
when I was younger, I used to believe that that like heightening reality. I used to think that's like wrong because it's not real. It's not real. But what you don't realize, or what I didn't realize at least, was that the heightened version of any human story and like the condensed version of any human story is always better than the real thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like the reason why we have mythology and the reason why we have like these common narratives through different stories across time is because those are essential to like our truths and our human condition and like our relationships with one another and our relationships with ourselves and with the universe. Like, and it's distilled into these examples that people then pass on, through storytelling. If it's like nobody wants to know like the entirety of what happened in the Iliad. Wait, who's the main character of the Iliad? It's not Homer. It was written by Homer.
Odysseus.
It's like Odysseus's life was probably pretty like rough and boring for most of it, if he was a real person. But like the interesting parts are in the Iliad.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, that's the other thing to remember, like just to remind everybody, because I think as time progresses and technology progresses, we forget this even more and more. Like the only perfect medium is being there personally when the moment happens. Everything from that point is a facsimile and a representation of what happened. I mean, even this podcast, like when you're watching a video, we're trying to communicate the depths of the human experience through some pictures that are playing at 24 frames per second and an audio track that plays along with it. And that's all you get. So if you're going to try to tell a story, you have to heighten it a little bit for those things to read. But that's how you acknowledge these human truths and you have these human experiences. You need to do that. And that's totally okay to do. But, that is the process you have to do to be able to tell stories in a video medium. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stories are better than the real thing.
Yeah. So
for sure.
This podcast is going to be slightly shorter than usual just because we got it to a late start because we had to take our Dubstep Guns 2 promo pictures to the website.
Dubstep, dude.
Dubstep Guns 2. That's right. The Drop Squad's back. And
cool.
Me, Mike, and Sam are going to be working on a new Dubstep Guns 2 video if it gets greenlit.
Whoa. Mike Diva's coming in for
Mike
a collab?
Diva's coming in for another collab.
Sweet.
But if the video gets greenlit,
if
that's the key.
Come on.
But the funny thing is we haven't started this process yet, but I feel like we could get some like really legit like electronic artists for Dubstep Guns 2. Because I feel like Dubstep Guns 1 is like a part of the zeitgeist. We gotta get a legit
electronic artist, and we gotta get Andy Samberg. And
right.
He's got to make a cameo. He's like the chief or something.
Yeah, that'd be great. It'd be super cool if we could get Skrillex in for a song. Yeah, or just even in the video.
Time to bring in the big guns.
He's the wise old sage in like some warehouse corner, still making dubstep, and you guys have to go see him to obtain a secret power.
Yeah, I don't know if he still lives in downtown LA, but at least a little while back, he literally lived like down the street. Oh, I guess people saw him by Werskirch like 2 months ago, so I guess he still lives here.
Wait, guys, that was like over a year and a half ago.
Oh, that was a year and a half ago.
Time flies with COVID, bro. No, I think all of our memories.
Socialization.
Yeah, I mean, all my memories start in 2020 or like before then, like even 2019.
Yeah, it goes to 2019 and begins at 2021.
It's such a weird blur, man. It's such a weird blur.
It's like when your clock flips from like midnight to like 1 o'clock. Like there's no 0 o'clock.
What?
2019 to 2021. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for listening to the podcast, everybody.
Yes.
Like a lot of people have been suggesting we do some time codes in the description below, so people can kind of see like if we're talking about different subjects, what to jump to. Maybe we should try that for this one. Yeah.
Maybe
so if you're listening to this and you want to put in the comments the time code, I will pin it to the top.
Nice. Well, if you paste it in the description, I believe it actually then segments the timeline.
Oh yeah.
With chapter markers.
Has a little
it does?
Yeah, little segments.
Yeah, it's fancy schmancy.
You're right. Okay. I was just pretending and being lazy.
Freaking pro YouTube tip. I didn't even know that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You just put it in the description.
It's really nice for tutorials. I love it when tutorials do that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, here's the part I need to know. But hey, everybody listening, thank you for listening to the podcast. Thank you for watching our videos.
I think it's already almost time to play us out.
It is time. A lot of people were talking about your Blackbird rendition. I actually haven't heard it yet. Would you by chance want to play it one more time?
Encore.
Yeah. Ready? Here we go. Peter trying to make a render with Beeple? Will he render that head and will it get in? Release the Peter cut.
Release the Peter cut.
Release it now. Release it now. That's it.
It's beautiful.
That was great. All right. So long, everybody.
All right, guys.
Thank you guys for
See you
watching.
later.
All right.